Hello again.
We're high.
We high again.
Up with hope, down with dope.
Yeah. The top 5 tips for veg. Veg tips.
Tippity tips.
Tips for your vegetables in your vegetable garden.
Pointy close.
We know you guys love vegetables. We love vegetables too. So let's get to the top 5 tips for veg.
One is how often we water and how to tell if you're overwatering or underwatering.
Yeah, in Veg Stage, it's kind of critical because you can really stunt your autos, and it has a really big impact on their growth. So you don't want to definitely overwater, and that's something you see a lot of people do. It's really easy to kind of do an overwater in auto.
So the way that I can tell that
Beep boop, beep boop.
the way that I tell that I'm overwatering my plants, I will take a peek at the leaves, and if they look a little bumpy, we like to call them the speed bumps.
Ridges.
That's when you can tell in Veg Stage where they're starting to get a little too overwatered or you're watering too much. So then you can just dial it back from then. And then also very similarly, when you're underwatering,
they'll start to just get droopy, and you won't see as much of the ridges because the leaves will be droopy, the stems will be weak. Typically overwatering, like Heaven said, the speed bumps or the ridges, you can see the cells and parts of the leaf are like gorged with water, so they'll get puffy and you get kind of a speed bump leaf, but they'll be sad too, and the stems will be stiff. So watering is definitely something you want to watch for in the autos in the Veg Stage, because you definitely don't want to overwater because it can impact.
Yeah.
So generally every other day, you really don't have to be micromanaging and watering every day, especially if you're in soil, just because it holds moisture really well. But if you're doing things like cocoa and it varies, so just keep an eye on it.
Yes, definitely watering does vary per plant. It's definitely plant specific, I would say. So just know the signs that you're watering or too much or too little.
Yeah. And something else, number 2, guys, what we do is we always in our autos cut the bottom 2 nodes. And we do that early on in the Veg Stage, basically before we do any real training or anything else, right? We cut the bottom 2 nodes early on in their life just to help focus more energy towards growing the top of the plant. It's been a great one, and we've always just kind of done it pretty much since the
I started
beginning.
doing the very bottom ones because I noticed that they weren't getting as big as the ones above them anyway, and I thought, hey, that's probably wasting a lot of energy. So I started doing the very bottom ones, and then I started noticing that if I did the ones right above those as well, it seemed to flourish the ones up top a lot more.
Makes them just reach more, makes the whole plant seem to be better, because those bottom ones usually, by the time the whole plant's grown out, if you just kind of let it go, they usually just are not very good production, or they never really reach around all the way. So we just kind of got in the habit of around day 20 to 25, maybe cut the bottom 2, and then you've even going and doing the 2 above that. So you cut the bottom 2 sets.
As soon as they got another node on top of that, it's when I really try to get them out of there as soon as I possibly can, really. And that just kind of lets the plant, it doesn't stress the plant out as much if you do it in a younger stage.
Yeah, and you wait a little bit in between each time.
And
probably not a good idea to take both sets of nodes at the same day. Maybe give it a few days in between.
I don't know. I do it at the same day.
Do you? I mean, something to experiment with, though.
I like to do it at the same day because if it needs to recover, it can do it all at once instead of trying to do it twice.
Yeah, but we've been experimenting with it, but we have always been taking the bottom 2 nodes, and it just seems to make the rest of the plant grow better, and then it just never seemed to be anything really anyway. So we usually do that first and then look into like training once it starts to get a little further along through veg.
Yeah.
But the other number 3 big one, especially if you're doing soil mixes, dry amendments, or organics and things like that, is feeding, and start to look for signs.
Yeah, it looks for signs of your excess or deficiency.
Because if you're coming from doing soil with organics or dry amendments, you're going to notice like it's going to start to use up the nutrients in your pot, your 3-gallon or your 5-gallon. And as it heads into late veg, you might start to see signs of lower leaves yellowing. So it's a good idea to think about and start to look for or preemptively plan top dressing, feedings for going into flower in your late veg.
So I feel like that kind of falls under the umbrella of being able to read your plant, knowing what that excess is and knowing what that deficiency is, and really knowing what you're already giving your plant to give it an excess or a deficiency, and then dialing it down or giving it more depending on what that may be. But at veg, I really don't even need to feed personally that much. I just give it the CalMag and molasses every other water, and that seems to be sufficient for me in my soil mix.
Yep. And then usually around late veg into starting of bloom is when it's time for some newts.
That's when I start to see signs.
Yeah. So this is another one, just the feeding and overall plant. Just kind of learn to read your plant. It's all part of it.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's the best tip.
Yeah. And then also kind of what also falls under the umbrella of reading your plant is your light, and also how to tell when your light is too much or too little for your plant.
Yeah. That's a really good one. Like the light, because you'll definitely be able to see benefits from adjusting your light height and brightness throughout the veg stage as they can handle more. It's okay to start to dial your light intensity up. Like in any veg stage, you really don't need to go to 100%. It's going to be too intense. I mean, they don't have huge knocking flowers on there yet, so you really don't need 100% in veg. I mean, you definitely can if you have a height that's high enough to do that, but really it's just going to save you on power, less heat in your tent, running them at a dimmer brightness, having them at the proper heightness to get the effective par output on the canopy. So you can definitely play it smart, save some money on your bill rather than just running them 100% all the time.
You can tell if you can see your plant reaching too hard, or if it starts to fall over a little bit because it's trying to get to that light. The light adjustment definitely comes into play at that point.
Some great tips for things to watch for if your light is too much in veg is especially your top leaves or the young leaves that are closest to the light. If you see them starting to flip over, we'll call them, they're flipping. If the top leaves are starting to flip upside down, it usually means that the light is too intense for the plant.
Or it also, you'll see almost them fold in on
tacoing.
themselves.
It's like they're green and healthy, but they start to get dry and kind of like want to taco curl in. That's usually just an indicator your light is too intense. Dial it down some. So that's a really good tip for light adjustment through veg. Just watch what your plants or your leaves closest to the lights are telling you. If they're reacting, if they're flipping over or they're tacoing in, you probably have it up too high for them, and you should adjust your light, raise it, dim it, read the plants.
A couple of things to think about.
And then the last biggest thing for veg and what to look for is staying on top of just checking their gender, especially if you're getting seeds. We've had seeds that are advertised as feminized that ended up being males, and plants that just come out and ended up being a Hermie with autos. So it's always important in that veg stage and like right at the beginning when they start to show sex, or just watching them early on, because we've seen like pollen sacs pop before we see pistil hairs.
Oh yeah, way before.
So it's just important to always be checking your plants, not only for just like signs of its sex, is it male, is it female, but bugs, things like that. Anything to crop up, really just keeping an eye on your plants and just knowing what's going on. Do you have any
trying to figure out what's a flower and what's the balls?
What are they? One's dangling, one's a little peach tree.
But definitely looking for signs in mid to late veg as far as your gender goes. So we have found that if it does show signs of being male over female, it does show a lot sooner than being female.
You'll typically see right where the leaf connects and you have your branch going, like right at that connection, you'll typically start to see little single pollen sacs, and it'll look like a little arm come out, and then literally like a ball at the end of it. And we've seen people DM us on Instagram, is this a male? Yes, it is.
Yes,
if it doesn't look like one of the little things with a hair sticking out of it or two hairs, I
mean, unless you want it to be male, though.
Unless you want to do your own breeding project.
That was definitely just our top 5 tips for veg. And learning how to read your plant and loving the process.
Loving the process, guys. Just sharing you guys some of our tips that we thought have helped just plants throughout the veg stage. But we really thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Definitely check out the seedling stage one if you did it, and then also the bloom stage tips if you guys haven't, and all of our grow series and everything like that.
Thanks for hitting that Thanks for hitting that like and subscribe button.
Tell them about the Instagram.
Oh yeah.
I said tell them about the Instagram.
What?
Don't forget to check us out on Instagram at Highigan.
We have one of those. Check us out though, guys, and channel members too. Thank you guys so much for supporting our content. We really appreciate you guys. Help make this fun stuff happen. So definitely, if you guys want to help support, check out our channel members. You get a bunch of cool perks, early access to videos, and all kinds of fun stuff. So,
all the fun stuff.
thanks for watching, guys.
Thanks, guys.